Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Hello and welcome to Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Jim Ross. This is Paul Bromwell filling in for Conrad this week. JR, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I wish I was on that Speedo shoot on the beach with Conrad, because you know it's going to be very impressive and bodacious, to say the very least. But nonetheless, I'm glad you're with us, and we're going to have fun today.
You know what? If anyone deserves a break, it's him, and I'm glad he's getting a little bit of a break this summer. I know he's having a good time. But, yeah, when he says, Paul, can you help me with JR, Grilling JR? Yes, please. My hand goes straight up. So
good.
I'm excited to be here with you, Jim. And speaking of excitement, it was just over a week ago, AEW was back live on the road in Miami. And, man, I could feel the crowd through the television. What was it like to be there?
Oh, great. It was good. You know, it's so energizing and so much energy in the room. It was, you know, we run mid-sized arenas. So the intimacy of the crowd and when they make noise, you know, like Austin was sold out. You know, we just been very blessed with our crowds love what we do. And they're also very boisterous, and they're also very vocal, expressing what they like and they don't like, so forth. So it's great. It's hard to imagine that we went so long without crowds there, and how we were able to pull it off. You know, I think people overlook that. I think Tony Khan and his group, our team, made it look easier than it was, quite frankly, without breaking my arm, patting myself on the back as a monsoonism. But our team has done well in that environment, but getting back on the road was I could see the excitement just in the expressions, body English. I thought that, like you mentioned to Paul about Miami, it was so motivational. If you can't get into that environment and with those crowds, you know, as they were, you know, you might be in the wrong business. I can tell you that, and the other thing that's kind of overlooked, you know, the way that Tony Khan writes these TV shows, we start off big and we end big. So you book in what you perceive will be must-see matches. And it all starts for me with what starts the show. And I thought that Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, because I refuse to call him Marshall. Shivani can if he wants to. I don't give a shit. I'm not doing it. Marshall. But QT rose to the occasion, had one of his best outings maybe ever in his life. But Cody and QT kicking it off like they did was big time. And I hope that they understand what a contribution they made that night to get us started on the right foot and set the tone in the room. set the tone in the arena for this show. So I had a blast, and you forget how important that audience is for a live presentation. So it was great. You know, we're not doing tennis, we're not doing golf. We need noise,
Right?
You know, and I'm looking forward to the day that fans bring their posters and their signs, kind of like the old Attitude Era. We'll see some of those signs probably here in this show. But I think signs are kind of a cool thing because it's not a good market research. What are you thinking about? You're thinking, you know, you get to, it just adds to the ambiance to me. And as still a longtime fan, and I am still a fan, that those signs I think just are kind of cool. So I enjoyed it. I'm glad we're back in a live audience. Our ticket sales going forward are good. You know, we're going to be finished up Austin. We're going to go to, where are we going? I got it here. Garland, Texas, which is essentially the Dallas Metroplex, the 21st, and then Charlotte on the 28th. So the month of July is good. We're hopping, and the tickets are for sale. Chicago's got a lot of stuff coming its way. So we're blessed. Our fans are loyal, and they're terrific, and I love the fact that they're outspoken. Got no problem with that, and because I heard plenty of that when I had my WWE faux pas a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Some of them were fine. Most were fine.
Yeah.
Some seem to have the desire to take their animosity or their disappointment or their critiques or whatever you want to call it to a little bit a personal level. I don't think it's necessary, quite honestly. It got personal, and so a lot of the information was incorrect. Well, you know, JR had a stroke. Oh, I never had a stroke. Thank God. Knock on wood.
Right.
I've had Bell's palsy 3 times. But, you know, in the heat of battle, man, we got no net out there. We're not doing redos. We don't have stand-ins. And so sometimes you get carried away and oops, there it goes. So in any event, I'm living a dream, man. I'm loving it. And back with these live crowds is a cherry on the sundae, the sauce on the ribs, shall we say.
There you go. You know, it blows my mind you mentioned that, but JR, you worked with that company for what, 25, 30 some years, it feels like. So give me a break.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to give you a break anymore, Paul. That's not acceptable.
Right.
With a young, defiant demographic that believes that they know what's best in every topic that they discuss. And maybe they do know what's best.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that their opinions are less than mine. I'm just saying that sometimes they come with erroneous information, and it discounts their opinion when they provide data that isn't true or accurate. So like the stroke. Well, let's give him a break. You know, he had a stroke. Or let's give him a break because he lost his wife.
Yeah.
Do we have to go there?
I know.
Do we really need to go there? I made a mistake. Simple as that. Hell, I made another one last week with Excalibur. I called him Mark. That's what I call him all day. Maybe that's my mistake. I told him at the show, we were laughing about it. I said, well, let's make a headline or two. He laughed. I said, let me tell you how I explain this or how I feel about this. It wasn't right. I mean, it was a slip.
Yeah.
But the issue is that when I first met Excalibur, I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen his work. I knew he came from PWG, that environment. I knew he had a lot of friends that were with us in our startup, which is fine. But to me, he was a talent. Since then, over the last couple of years, he's become my friend. So Excalibur is my working guy. He's my associate. But Mark is my friend. So I got in friend mode, I guess, inadvertently. Shame on me. In any event, hey, it's just you're sitting there with a no net, buddy, and when you don't have a net, I love that. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
And so I still have I think the best job in pro wrestling. I've got 2 great partners with Shivani and Excalibur. So It's.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
I look forward to still going to work every week, Paul. It's a fun gig.
Listen, and as just like many of the listeners of this show, many of JR fans who grew up listening to you were the soundtrack for us for wrestling. You're the voice of wrestling. I choose to look at the 98.5 or 99% of everything you get right, including the call of when Malachi Black came out, strikes Cody Rhodes. That's a big acquisition for AEW, but you were fire. You bring it to life along with the audience. And, man, that was a really cool moment on that show.
I didn't see him all day. I've never met him in my life. I didn't meet him before the show. I knew the rumblings that there was something. We got some surprises tonight. And, I've been very adamant with my associates and my peers that I don't need to know that information. Now, that may come off as arrogant, but for me to be real and natural and spontaneous, I don't need to know it. I don't need to precondition myself as to, okay, he's going to do this, then I'm going to say that.
Right.
It loses the magic, man. It loses the magic. So I don't need to know any finishes, quite frankly. And the day that I can't interpret what a finish is and how it works out, when I can't do that, then somebody else will be sitting in that chair in the middle. So I had a lot of fun, and he's a big he is, like you said, Paul. Malachi is a big acquisition for us, and I'm glad that he's on our team. And I'm very surprised that WWE let him slip away. Don't know all the backstory of that stuff, what the dirt is. I'll leave that up to Wrestling Observer to figure all that stuff out. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that we're lucky we have him.
He's in his prime.
Yeah, and he's a unique talent. It looks like his first dancing partner seems to be, anyway, based on what we saw in Memphis, is going to be Cody. And they'll have a hellacious run, I think. Both are young and hungry, and Cody's one of my favorites in and out of the ring. And I guess that's because I was so close to his father. And I kind of I feel compelled, even though he's never asked me to. I feel compelled to kind of look out for him a little bit. And I can't help it. So I'll just full disclosure. But that'll be a hell of a run. And so whenever it is, we got some, I think Tony Khan's got some other surprises, I hear, coming up. So Tony's been very aggressive, much like the Trevor Lawrence draft pick. He's shooting for the moon here on a lot of guys, and I think we're going to be loaded up for summer and fall and keep getting stronger.
And I can't wait. It's exciting as a fan of wrestling to have that excitement and that surprise back again. Who's going to show up and who, you don't know who. You have the critics. We talk about social media. Oh, they're becoming WWE light. But it's funny. I was just talking to someone the other day, and they had a great comparison. So what you're trying to say is if someone in their prime becomes a free agent and the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia don't want to go after that talent, if they go after that talent and bring them on, then they become that other team. No, it's you picked up a great free agent who's going to contribute right away and be a big time player on this team.
Yeah, it's a weak argument.
Yeah.
Oh, they're WWE light.
Give me a break.
I don't agree with that, and I'm not knocking WWE. It's not my charge in life to criticize and castigate the WWE. I had 26 great years there, and I'm not an anti-WWE. I don't feel like we're in a wrestling war. The war is AEW versus itself.
Yeah.
Getting our young guys to continue to evolve and get better. And I think we're seeing that, some of our homegrown kids are starting to find their way. It's a big difference in working at PWG, for example, or an indie show and working a match on a national television show. It's a different mindset. It's just a different ball game. And a lot of our guys had never played in that ball game. So I see getting, with our agents, our coaches, we call them, You know, we got a great group of guys that are there to help these kids. You know, Jerry Lynn's amazing. Dean Malenko, one of the best coaches I've ever seen. And but we got a bunch of guys, you know, that are good, that help the talents. And now the talents are catching up with them and starting to create their own content. Mm. That's the idea. If you create ownership, you have a better chance of the owners becoming successful. So I remember Cowboy Bill Watts was back in the day, and I quote him a lot because he was my first real mentor, and he was a brilliant son of a gun. He would bring top talent in, and oftentimes to work with him, but he wanted that talent that came in to have ideas. You know, here's my idea how to shoot the angle to kick off our storyline. But what do you think? What would you do? What's worked for you in the past? And when the talent's able to contribute in that respect, of creative, they have more confidence in what they're doing and they have ownership, Paul. Nobody wants to create a sinking ship. Right. Everybody wants to ride nice and smooth. Here we go. And Cowboy gave him that opportunity, even though his reputation as a hard ass, a perfectionist. Shame on me. I always compared him to Vince Lombardi, which a lot of guys don't have a clue who Vince Lombardi is. But, you know, he was a hard ass football coach that had great success in Hall of Fame. And it's kind of they call it the Lombardi Trophy for a good reason.
Yes, sir.
So, you know what I'm saying? I just believe that we got some talent, and I'd love to see how the evolution of this is coming about. It's fun. Yes. And for a guy, look, I don't know how many more years I got this, and I don't know if I even think about it in years anymore about my run. I'm healthy, thank God, knock on wood again. And I love it. But if my work deteriorates to a level that I can't handle, my ego won't let me to be bad, then I got to move on. I understand that. I understand how attrition works. So, but I'm going to have a lot of fun while I'm still at it, and hopefully it'll be a while longer because I enjoy being around this group. The great thing about being 69, I'll be 70 in January. And I'm energized by being around these kids, to be honest with you. I draw off their energy as well. And I think they draw off what they perceive to be my wisdom. If that's not an oxymoron referring to me, but in any event, I'm having a blast, and I'm hoping that we can still be productive and positive and be a welcome sight or a welcome listen for a while longer. That's my take on it. This is all I've ever done as an adult since Cowboy got me in the business out of Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma in 1974. And every year since, to one level or the other, I've been in wrestling. So I kind of like it.
Well, I think you're pretty good at it, JR, and a lot of would agree with that as well. I mean, if not, just go back, watch the Ethan Page, Darby Allin interview that was last week that you sat down with them. That was fun. Talk about young stars and bringing in some of the, other talent from the WWE, but there's still such a mix there of AEW young talent that's ready to go. But super exciting times, as you said, for the company. They're off like a rocket ship, back with fans, and I'm telling you, fans are going to be rabid for a while now because we've just been sitting on our hands waiting to get back out in those arenas and let our voices be heard. So couldn't be more thrilled for all of wrestling. It's going to happen across the board. WWE, AEW, Impact, and just a great time to be a wrestling fan.
That's what we all want, Paul. We all want the business in general to be healthy.
That's right.
The trickle down, if somebody's brand gets hot, it's good for all of us. It's a trickle down thing. Everybody gets to share in some of that newfound or renewed enthusiasm. So I'm a big believer. I want Ring of Honor to do well, for example, or Impact.
Yes.
I'm still, after doing a couple 3 years of New Japan voiceovers, I still enjoy watching New Japan. They have some, that they give you some great matches from time to time, really great matches. And some of my favorite stars there. I wish we had Okada. I'd love to see Okada in a big pay-per-view main event for AEW someday. And who's to say that can't happen?
Right. Bring it.
I don't know that that's going to happen. And somebody's going to hit their little websites. JR says they'll do that just to get their fucking clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. So, but point being is that, you know, we have a good relationship with the New Japan office.
Yeah.
And I think that somewhere down the road, one would assume when travel's issues are lessened, having an AEW presence in New Japan for some big shows seems to me would be a likely move. Seems to be. And secondly, if that's the case, then reciprocally, having some guys in New Japan here, you know, and I'm partial. Okada's a friend of mine, and we like each other. With even his English and my Japanese, which is non-existent, we communicate pretty well. So I enjoy those cats, and I think that having some of their talents on our show, you know, we've done a nice job, I think, and kind of intermittently promoting the Good Brothers.
Yes.
I'm under the impression that they're going back to New Japan. But when they're not there, I'm assuming that we'll be able to utilize their skills. They're both two good guys, good, hardworking, fundamentally sound talents. So, and it's good for us. It's good for them. They got another place to work. And Tony Khan's open-minded enough to say, you guys deserve to make a good living. And Paul, the way you do this is these guys are like traveling salesmen. The bigger their territory gets, the more opportunities they're going to have to earn a commission, or hence, i.e. a payday. So I'm excited about all that potential of all those things. And we get that because our boss is open-minded enough to say, well, let's try this. It's all about our fans anyway, right? If the fans are happy, we should be happy.
It helps that he's such a fan, too, of the business and has that open mind and wants to establish relationships. But he is a fan. I've heard him before talk about, well, remember the match in 1989 when these two took on these two? And this was and I'm like, his brain is incredible for the detail of
He's
wrestling.
told me stuff I said, and I started doing the math. And I said, wait a minute. You weren't even born then. Well, he said, I know, but I watched. He's a big tape guy.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day. So he's dedicated. He is a fan, and I really appreciate working for Tony, and a lot of good perks come along with that deal, like Jags tickets.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, listen, this is talking about exciting wrestling, and I know probably a lot of AEW talk, but that's where you work, Jim, and I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of WWE. I'm a fan of all wrestling right now, and I'm really excited though to go back in time this week and talk about an exciting time in the WWE, WWF time period in 2002. We're going to do a watch-along this week. It's Monday Night Raw. It's 19 years ago this month, Jim, already. Wow. Big surprise happened, a new general manager, and you and I are going to fire up Peacock, and we're going to watch that together today. Does that sound good?
I'm ready.
All right, so listen, we're going to tell you if you fire up the Peacock, you can easily find it on the network. If you're international, you'll know how to navigate there. But we're on Season 10 on Peacock, Episode 28. It is the July 15th, 2002 episode of Raw. It's the big one. Bischoff becomes the boss. And so go ahead, give yourself a chance to navigate there. But we're going to go ahead and get it started, JR, and I'm going to count us down in 3, 2, 1. And when I say play, we'll hit play together. Does that sound good?
Yeah, on my screen now, I have... it says skip intro. Do I skip intro?
Let's just start from the beginning. Don't skip intro. That way we're all on the same page.
You got
it. So we'll do that. So here we
go.
go.
Conrad will tell you I'm very ignorant when it comes to dragging this, clicking here, move that, whatever. So
I know. We'll keep it simple. That's why I said
the KISS principle is good for me. Keep it simple, stupid.
There you go. I'm a big fan of that too. So here we go. We're going to start it together, JR. In 3, 2, 1, play. And if our computers will participate and iPads will work with us, and I know we're going to be we're on different internet and things of that nature, but I'll try to give a little bit of a time track for those following us at home as to where we're at. We're at the opening graphic here for the WWE Raw. And now this is a huge show, JR. It opens up there. Paul Heyman and Undertaker are in the back. They're discussing the main event, which for this show is going to be Undertaker and Brock taking on Ric Flair and Rob Van Dam. This is going to be the go-home show for the Vengeance pay-per-view that's coming up. But again, big news for this evening is the whole Eric Bischoff storyline, and I just got to chat with him a little bit the other day, and last week was a huge week. The NWO 25-year anniversary was going on. It was all throughout the headlines.
Notice Taker's got his red hair.
He does. He's American Badass, yeah.
He's where I tried to nickname him Booger Red.
Oh, that's right.
Booger Red was the nickname for Tommy Nobis, arguably the greatest defensive player in Texas football history. Linebacker, played forever with the Falcons, excuse me. So he had red hair, 19-inch neck. He was a man's man. So was this dude here, this Mark Calloway.
And he's got that undisputed title belt, which I was a fan of. I'm a little bit of a belt nerd, so I was a fan of that belt. Appreciate that style, the undisputed championship. And he's back here with Paul Heyman, who's still hanging on to the ponytail. And they're discussing the upcoming big time main event here later today.
Yeah, it's Heyman's everlasting.
He is.
He's still doing great work. He's arguably the best talker in all of pro wrestling. And I don't, it's hard to say the Mount Rushmores and this, that, and the other, because what are you basing it on? What criteria you're talking about? But Heyman is still contributing in a big way. Heyman has repackaged Roman Reigns to amazing levels, quite frankly. So he has this little chat there with the Taker, and we're in the show open. That's what I got anyway.
Yeah, you're good. You're a little ahead of me. The show open now. I'm going to play a little bit of this music. I love this intro. Oh, JR, those were such badass times. Oh.
Yeah, what a talent roster. I say egocentrically, what a talent roster.
Loaded. It still had the edge to it. The show did, the violence and everything else. Oh, it was such a good time to be a wrestler.
Look at that crowd. Look at the signs, the crowd. As a talent and an announcer sitting in the midst of everybody, you can't help but get pumped up.
Yeah.
And Continental Airlines, big venue, and it's packed. I'm sure the show was sold out. I don't see any empty seats anywhere.
No, it does. You're right. It takes place in the Meadowlands there, Continental Arena. Do you remember anything in terms of the Meadowlands, the crowd, the arena, anything come back to you when you think about that?
Well, for me, and kind of strange, I liked that venue because I could drive to work.
Ah.
I worked in the office or near the office. I had an office in Stanford as the EVP of Talent Relations. So for me to not have to get on an airplane, it sounds like a small thing. When you fly 52 weeks a year and you get a chance to take a car trip, not a bad deal. So we're starting it off here with the renowned chairman of WWE.
Yeah, we're 1 week removed from Kevin Nash injury happening. Sean Waltman's been sent home. And we're here with Vince McMahon coming down to the NWO music, no less. In the list of failures for the WWE, how high does the NWO rank? Their try with them.
Well, the NWO had their greatest run, obviously, with Eric there in WCW.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to repackage and put the genie back in the bottle, quite honestly. So, but, they contributed a great deal. It just wasn't quite the same. And a remake is never as good as a rule as the originals. So, but they still did great. It's just, it was hard to do things new with them because they had done everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to kind of rehash some stuff. So I thought that they contributed very well to what we were doing. Vince is, here's the irony of that deal. I don't think Vince probably watched 10 consecutive minutes of the NWO when they were in WCW. He wasn't a mark for their work. All those guys had been with us prior to going to Atlanta. So anyhow, Vince has got his NWO story on. And
did he ever have a conversation with you that you remember that stands out, JR? I know you're very close working with him at this point, regarding, wow, the brainchild of the NWO, or what's Eric doing with that group, and can you believe Hogan turned heel? Anything around it at the time that you remember having a conversation with Vince about?
Well, he was impressed with their ratings. So he was impressed more with data than the creative process. He'd seen it. Vince, like me in a lot of ways, as far as being around a long time and seeing everything. And so he's giving a little history lesson here in the beginning.
He is
kind of setting the stage. And Vince is a very good promo. Vince always said, and I believe it to this very day, that, we had a lot of great talent, as we mentioned earlier, on our roster. We were very blessed that a lot of the guys that we signed came through. But he's, Vince is just a unique cat, and he was trying to figure out, and we were all trying to figure out, how do we make the NWO feel new again? Yeah. And that's hard. It's hard to do. So I don't know. I think he respected what they'd accomplished. I know that personally he was always pretty close to Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Had good rapport. And of course he created Hulk Hogan by and large. I know people will disagree with that. Well, Hogan had that run in the Continental Wrestling, Alabama, or whatever. That's cool. You did. But let's be honest.
It wasn't Hulkamania, man.
No. Go back to WrestleManias, the early WrestleManias, and he was the guy pulling the wagon. So, yeah. And that was Vince's leadership. Vince didn't throw a dart against the wall. Oh, Hogan will be. It was the fact that he had a vision for Hogan and how to create a new hero. He had mentioned some of these guys in his interview here.
He is. He's talking about all the various eras that have come and gone, and he says Buddy Rogers, Bruno Sammartino. He's talking through Hogan and Cena and all of them. And this is all setting the stage, as you said. He's talking about the 500th edition of Raw that's approaching, and their things need to be shaken up again. We got to kind of start over again with the creative, is essentially what he's saying. And he's going to bring in some new general managers, so setting the stage for what's about to go down. By the way, the rumor and innuendo at the time was that during Vince Russo's 1 week in creative, he suggested an idea similar to this. Is that how you remember it?
No.
Okay.
It may have happened, though, Paul. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't recall it being.
Yeah, he had a real short return there in 2002.
I remember that. It was just in and out. And I'm not sure exactly what all the politics behind that were or weren't.
Sure.
And there again, same thing, the old genie in the bottle analogy. It's hard to recreate your magic once you've done it and you've taken leave for whatever reason.
So at this point, Jim, and we've had some questions that have come in as well, and I'm going to ask those as we go through the show. Were you aware already before the show started about Bischoff and the plan for him to come in?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, how far, you
Eric
were
was
part of that decision process?
Eric was just another talent. I don't mean that flippantly.
Okay.
So if any talent coming on the roster, I was involved in, because that was my territory, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sometimes I didn't know all the creative plans and machinations that were planned for these talents, but somebody's got to negotiate a contract. Somebody's got to get them signed up. And even though you can agree in principle, sometimes agreeing to the mathematics of the deal can be a little bit challenging. But absolutely, I was ready.
What was your? We had someone write in, a wrestling historian, one of our friends. He's a big-time supporter of ad-free shows, and he said, what was your initial reaction, JR, to Eric Bischoff and the idea of bringing him and him being a part of joining the WWE?
I thought it was a very bold and kind of I want to say iffy. That's not a good term. I just thought it was a very bold move because, for whatever reason, and I never agreed with this, Eric was, not liked by a lot of guys because of past, WCW business and so forth. So there's a good shot of part of our roster.
Loaded roster.
Notice Eddie and Benoit standing next to each other.
You have guys, I mean, you got Flair. Then you have the ECW with Rob Van Dam and Dreamer. Then Benoit, Guerrero. Just as it scans, there's just so many Hall of Fame type performers there at the time.
Well, I put a big emphasis on guys that could work and not their height.
Right.
It may sound flippant and ridiculous, but there's something to be said for that statement. You know, I had to sell, believe it or not, I had to sell to get the Radicals hired. Not unlike I had to sell to get Mick Foley hired. Now, Mick was tall enough. He's 6'4", but he'd already had a couple of tryouts at WWE that did not work out well in the eyes of some of the decision makers at that time. But I couldn't figure out how I could justify my job and represent Vince and the company as I tried to do all those years with talent and not hire a Jericho or a Benoit or a Guerrero. Are you kidding? I mean, they were phenomenal performers.
Yeah, so, I remember in your latest book, you talk about how you had to sell Jericho and what that process was like with Vince. But we just had Terry, by the way, who, my goodness, I was a Terry fan. She's interviewing Flair here in the back. I don't think she would have been one of Jim Barnett's favorites, but, man, she was one of mine.
Oh, my God. Barnett would have loved Conrad's cheeks.
He would have.
Oh, yeah, there's miles and miles of them. Terry was very underrated in my view. She wasn't a trained broadcaster, but she was a good communicator.
Yes.
And she used those communication skills and her womanly ways, whatever that means, to contribute. And I thought there was an error there. She was phenomenal contributing with us. Shows her versatility. It's just got the interviewing flair there. Her little facial expressions at the end, things, little nuances like that, Paul. She was a natural. And here's another kid that's a natural. The strange enigma, a man who reminds me so much of young Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy making his way out to the ring. Real quick on the Flair deal before we move on. So he was back there with her, and they're talking about who could the new GM be. I have to ask, did anyone give Flair the heads up about Bischoff being there?
You know, I don't know specifically. Wouldn't surprise me. But either way, quite frankly. But I'm not aware that of
specific conversation.
No, I'm not. I really not. Rick was in a situation. He was like me. He was getting longer in the tooth, and he was there, and he had a good job, and he was making great money. And so there he was. So I don't know, man. There's Jonathan Coachman, and one of my favorite talents of all time, William Regal. This guy is so frigging talented.
He is.
Oh, I'm telling you, people don't realize how great a performer Regal is. He's been instrumental in securing jobs for a lot of really good talent there in NXT. So he's great.
He's one of those guys that I didn't appreciate as much at the time as just being a casual fan, as now when you go back and watch, you see his fingerprints on the business and how he worked, and I have a much greater appreciation now than I did probably at the time watching him.
Highly skilled, very intelligent. He's a pro wrestling lifer. That just is just really cool, really cool. Bubba and Spike. And we're promoting the pay-per-view right along. Benoit and
yeah, this is the first match kicking off here. It is Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and William Regal, and they're taking on the Dudleys and Jeff Hardy here in an elimination match. This is a story of a classic. Babyface Hardys, you have Jeff Hardy, the Dudleys, and Jeff Hardy. And, man, Regal, Benoit, and Eddie, they may be one of the best pure wrestling trio teams ever. My goodness.
Yeah, and Regal's facial expression was just nothing but money. Little subtleties like that he had acquired and refined. A lot of talents could learn a lot from him. You can learn a lot from guys, how the guys come out. Look at how Eddie struts and does this thing, and Benoit's more serious. That's the way it was in real life. Benoit was no different right here, right now, than he was backstage in catering or somewhere. He was all business. And then here we go, the old fast start. And
JR, for those that are, and this is for those that are really following us and wanting to keep up, I'm at 15, 20, 21, 22. JR, don't worry if you're somewhere else. We'll just keep it rolling here. But let's talk about a little other wrestling news, if you will, that's going on while we watch this match together. TNA is on, and it's its 4th week in. Had TNA been on the radar whatsoever for any of you in the WWE at this point, as it's been in existence now for about a month?
Well, without sounding like a total turd, not really.
Okay.
Here's the thing about that. People they look at that, they'll say, well, JR, he was shooting on TNA. He was dissing TNA.
Here comes the soundbite of the week.
Yeah. But we had all we could say grace over taking care of our business.
Sure.
You know, I had a roster to manage. I didn't have time to go home and watch wrestling. And I tried to watch as much as I could when it's feasible. But sometimes you just got to step away and let your batteries recharge. But no, it wasn't a big thing. It just really wasn't a big deal. So I'm and not knocking them. Not at all. It's just, how many hours are there in the day? You know, I think we just didn't sit around and watch wrestling. I had an administrative job to take care of. Talents had contractual issues. You know, our department managed the wellness program. There's always an adventure with that. So, you know, Bubba's a good heel, and they're working with Benoit. Bubba's does a good job, in my opinion, more often than not, with his comments on Busted Open with Dave LaGreca there on Sirius XM. I big proponent of that show. I like it because it takes it just gives us another perspective, which I think is good. A different point of view sometimes. Don't always agree, but it's irrelevant.
It's good because I think with them, they're not really associated with any of the companies, so they're gonna give it, you know, the full scale review, whether it's good, bad, and the ugly, on for all the companies. And I kind of like having that independent voice of someone who's actually been in the business. Yeah,
me too. And, you know, they got Mark Henry there, Tommy Dreamer.
Yep.
All those guys are lifers. They love the business. You know, Mark's with AEW now, and we're all happy to have him.
That's what I was going to ask. As soon as you said his name, you know, him now, is he kind of part of the backstage every week? And
yeah, he's there. He's there. He comes every week, and he's generally stays busy having young talent sit under his learning tree. He kind of reminds me a little bit, not because they're both African-American, of Ernie Ladd and his wisdom, experiences, sharing, mentoring. And Mark's really good at that. And that's, you know, Big Show, I was talking to Big Show down in Miami at length, because our dressing facilities were a little snug. And, you know, he's working hard on his weight and getting back in better shape. So he didn't say it to me, but I'm assuming that somewhere down the road, we'll see Big Show back in the ring. Now, I don't think it's going to be every week. You know, we don't use anybody every week, really.
Right.
But I do think that he'll be back in the ring at some point in time. And he'll be rejuvenated. He'll be renewed. I think he'll do well.
Yeah, I think that's been kind of enjoyable to see how the older talents are mixed in and used, the veterans, if you will, within the company. And it's not right back into the ring. Certainly you have someone like Christian Cage, who's in phenomenal shape and looks like he's never left the business for 7 years, and he looks incredible, and he's doing his thing. And by the way, I'm enjoying him and Matt Hardy. I think that's kind of fun. But, you know, I'd love to see Big Show get in there one more time. And if he wants to get in shape and do that, then so be it. If he's healthy enough, can you believe a guy at his size and his age is still and doing relatively well physically? Yeah,
he is. And we're happy for that, no doubt. Boy, these guys, all the little nuances, as the fans can see here, following us and let's watch along, all the little things that guys like Guerrero and Benoit do, and Jeff Hardy selling. That's part of Jeff Hardy's magic, is just selling. anybody's
Yes.
magic.
It's that's what was the part of the big magic for Shawn Michaels too. In-ring
Right.
performer, but his selling was incredible. So, and Jeff
Better.
Hardy encapsulates a lot of that too. And I love your comparison to Darby Allin. I definitely see.
Darby's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites to talk to. Darby's very creative. Comes up with a lot of his own material, shall we say. And he's one of our homegrown guys that we take pride in. Him, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, for example. Just two of them. And like you mentioned, Ethan Page. Nobody should sleep on Ethan Page. He's going to be a big time player. And I said, well, he's already a big time player.
He's got the charisma.
He drew that big house in Impact Wrestling one time. Okay, take it easy. He's in a different arena right now, and he's doing really, really
different
well.
Scale. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have him. He looks great. He's got a good attitude, smart kid. So he's going to contribute. I believe he stays away from injuries. He's going to contribute in a big way for a long time to come. Look at how aggressive Eddie is.
Yeah.
I don't know where you are in this thing, but Eddie doesn't know he's 5'8". Nobody told him.
He's a buzzsaw. He came in. I saw him drop kick Jeff Hardy to the head, leave the ring. I'm at 21-40. Spike Dudley, by the way, for those watching along, has already been eliminated from this match. So it's down to Jeff and Bubba on one side, and you still have all three in Regal and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. Here's Earl Hebner. He's not afraid to mix it up here with Eddie Guerrero. Man, Earl's still getting it done in the ring at this point. That was some fun for me as a fan sometimes when he'd get a little handsy with some of the wrestlers back in the day.
Yeah, the boys, too, are much more respectful then as they are now, the refereeing.
Yeah.
The officiating. I think in all companies, not one specifically, but I think all companies. The older guys got broken into the business understanding and was taught that these guys are really important to the success of your match and how you interact with them and not bury them and denigrate their authority, the better off you're going to be.
Well, we just had another elimination here before we go into break, and that was Steven Regal was taken out by the Swanton Bomb by Jeff Hardy, so we're down to two on each side.
Yeah, Regal gets the old belt treatment from Bubba. I think Bubba got caught with his hand in the spaghetti jar.
Mine was usually in the cookie jar, but the same thing. So hey,
he's a very strong Italian.
He is. He is. You're right. So I'll ask another question as this match continues on. I like to make sure we get as much fan questions in and listener questions as we can. Stu Stevenson writes in, and again, a lot of the topic here is around Bischoff coming in, and he says, given the open dislike of Bischoff by some of the ex-WCW talent backstage, was there ever a risk of a few personal receipts being handed out this way, out his way by the more disgruntled guys he let down in years prior? Was there any concern for that?
I think that the only person that I can remember, Paul, after all these years, we're talking 2002 here.
Right.
Last I looked, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I can't remember every nuance.
Come on, JR.
I think he's holding back. I think the only person that had an outward display of unhappiness was Flair.
Ah, okay.
And some wounds take longer to heal than others.
Yeah.
But it still comes back to the bottom line of a job. This is your job. And I think too much is made over. Look, Bischoff took me off the air in WCW.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate him. The best thing that ever happened to me at that time was coming to work for Vince. I made great money. I was there over a quarter of a century. And so, we laugh about some of those situations. Eric and I are great friends. We weren't always, but I got over it. And my ego got back in check to some degree. Man, Jeff Hardy's getting the great push and the great rub, huh?
Yeah, Guerrero here has been eliminated. Him and Hebner again pushing match up the rampway. Man, but you're right. You know, time has a tendency, and the old phrase is heals all, but also people mature, get older. They're at different places in their life. And I always find when I'm listening to these shows, it's great to hear of, you know, rocky relationships that happen, occur, differences. It's business. But
Right.
then we're friends now. You know, we've gotten past that. I love to hear that.
Yeah, I just choose to not live my life that way. I have an expression that at my stage of life, Paul, I don't have any room in my carry-on for more negativities. And, you know,
love that.
I don't have time for it. I don't have the room for it. So now you got two of the best ever, and Jeff and Benoit. It's down to these two, right?
It's those two, and then there's the bell Jeff Hardy gives out to the crossface. Now we're just trying to get him to break up the hold there, but yes, the match is over, and Eddie Guerrero makes his way back down to the ring, and he's yanking a table out here. I'm not sure what's about to go down, but doesn't look like things are over.
Fans are loving this match too. You notice.
Look at everybody. I was noticing the exact same thing. People are jumping around, not just standing. The signs. You were talking about the signs earlier, JR, and I thought, man, you talk about focus groups and things of that nature. What better way to get a pulse of what's getting over with your audience, what they're into, what they're digging by sometimes just reading the signs in the crowd.
I agree. It is a basic form of market research.
Yeah.
You know, they're not filling out a questionnaire and leaving it at the checkout counter. I like the signs because it does tell you various stories.
It does, and it adds to the whole ambiance, the excitement, the rock concert feel, if you will, that you talked about as we kicked off the show. Now, coming up here, it's not on yet, but I'm going to play it. Jonathan Coachman's going to come to the back, and he's going to mention someone in his interview that I think is very interesting, and I'm going to have a question for you about that. But here's the replay that we're getting here. Again, how the match ends. Earl chasing Eddie up the rampway. Steven Regal comes in again, interferes, and then Chris Benoit would put him in the crossface, and that's how the match would wrap up. Very entertaining match. I mean, all guys, Hall of Fame caliber talent. Here we are with Jonathan Coachman. Here we go.
Outside Mr. McMahon's office right now, hoping to get further word on who the new general manager may be. Now, there's been rumors circulating around backstage all night on who it might be. Rumored names like Mick Foley, who doesn't live very far from this very arena, would make a great general manager. From Mick Foley to, a lot of people don't realize that Mr. McMahon has a brother who lives in Texas. His name is Rod McMahon. He's even been mentioned. Whoa, Paul Heyman, what are you doing here?
So there we go. Heyman goes in, but had you ever, that was the first time people had ever heard the name of Rod McMahon on TV.
Yeah. Well, it's just reality-based stuff, and it's kind of the direction Vince wanted to travel in. It just sells you because people could look it up and say, yeah, that's his brother.
Who knew that, right? And so that was brought up. Had you ever met Rod at this point?
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah, I met him with several trips to Houston. And he'd come by and say hello to everybody. I don't think he and Vince saw each other a lot because of their schedules and the geography. There's Kasama.
I was going to ask you if you knew who that was. She just ran in the backstage to interrupt Vince and Paul Heyman saying, your GM is here.
She's a producer, been there for a long time.
Again, not someone we've seen often on TV. Not that I recall at all anyway.
She's made her way into a few scenes here, there, and yon. She's been there a long time.
Okay.
A very, very talented young woman, no doubt.
She runs in here to interrupt Heyman and Vince and says, the GM has arrived. Would you like to see him? And we're going to play. There's someone about to make their way in after this commercial break. Got to love the commercial breaks. We're coming back. Let's going to play this a little bit. Here we go, Jim.
The new general manager's here.
Well, please invite the new general manager into my office.
You notice there that Vince didn't expose the gender of the new general manager.
He did not. You're right.
What the hell are you doing here? You're not my new general manager.
No, I'm not your new general manager.
I'm here to prevent you from making the single biggest mistake in the history of our family's business. This goes all the way back to your father and to your grandfather. Now, wait a minute. Spare me, okay? You, my son, you tried to put me out of business, yet all of a sudden you have this family concern? No, at least it was family. When it was you and I battling for control of this company, at least you know who you were dealing with. Your new choice for general manager, and oh yes, I do know who it is. This guy is nothing more than a parasite. He is a parasite. And the first chance that this guy gets, he's gonna screw you, this company, and our family over royally. Well, let me just say that I appreciate your concern. I'm not gonna change my mind. It's my decision to make. It is your decision. One that affects you and everybody else.
There we go. Shane's return to TV for the first time since Survivor Series 2001. And what was Shane's role while being taken off TV after the failed invasion? Do you know what he was working on?
I like some international projects, if I recall.
Okay.
He was kind of ubiquitous. He was a little everywhere. You know, he was looking for other projects as well. You know, at one time, I think there was talk about buying the Harlem Globetrotters.
Huh.
There was time when we discussed buying the PBR, the Pro Bull Riders Association, and a lot of that was Shane's idea.
Yeah. Interesting. Why do you think Shane is so beloved by the fan base? Because he really is. Do you think it's just the excitement he brings when he's in the ring and his daredevil, or it just seems like he's embraced by the fans?
Yeah, I think his enthusiasm is infectious because it's real. He's not manufacturing a false, falseness of what he's doing. Yeah, he really enjoys what he's doing, and I think I don't know what all he's doing right now other than being a character on TV from time to time. I have to be honest with fans. I don't watch their shows as often as one might assume. And that's not being arrogant or there's only so much product that anybody can consume, I believe. So Tommy Dreamer sure lost a lot of weight there, didn't he? He looked good.
I'll tell you what, he looks good. We moved backstage. It opened up with Dreamer and Rob Van Dam, and it's funny, when they were talking, they said they were happy the new GM isn't Paul Heyman. Is that a shoot or work? That's so funny.
Well, it's probably a shoot.
Yeah, that was good stuff. And then we had Stevie Richards make his way in. Goldust will interrupt him, and they laugh at him a little bit, Goldust, and then Stevie's going to hit Tommy Dreamer here with the Singapore cane. And it's tough watching some of this stuff because when the next match, by the way, is Tommy Dreamer and Stevie Richards in a cane match, Singapore cane match, and it's tough watching some of these, knowing injuries and concussions that ended up as a result of some of this stuff.
Yeah, well, they're still trying to live on that unique EC dub philosophy and mantra. That's how I look at that deal. They're proud of their brand and where they come from. I understand that, and I do appreciate it. But it seems to me like me talking about Mid-South, the farther you get away from when it actually was in business, the better it gets. So I think the same thing about EC Dub. The thing about that with those guys, they still have to take into consideration sometimes they weren't paid on time.
Yeah.
By the way. But still, they were loyal to their brand. Heyman was lucky that he acquired a bunch of guys like Tommy Dreamer and others that were lifers. This was their way that they not only made their living, it's the way they lived their dreams. No pun intended, Tommy. So this should be this is interesting. It's kind of a let me up deal,
Yeah, this is a physical one, man. We're gonna get some color in this match, and it's gonna be, they're gonna take a beating, both of them, with the canes here.
And that's the way they liked it.
Yeah, Tommy loved it. He wanted more.
Yeah, I'm sure. You got two EC Dub alumnus, so they're going to represent the old school as best they can. which essentially meant beating the crap out of each other.
Stevie Richards had gotten himself into phenomenal shape here.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked good. What are your thoughts on Steve, working with him in a
Underrated.
talent relations way?
Always great. He's a joy to work with. Professional. I've always said, Paul, the biggest trait I need from a wrestler, if I'm going to sign them, or one of the biggest things I looked at checking somebody out as far as their background was, are you reliable?
Right.
Reliability is the number one thing, because I got to be able to depend on you, and the talents do too. Tommy's got his juice. So,
yeah, he's busted wide open. The action's outside of the ring here. Suplex onto the rampway, and man, just a brutal physical style match here.
But Richards Stevie was good. He's a smart guy. Smart guy. He's got a high intellect, high IQ. I would suggest. And I always enjoyed working with him.
I liked him, JR. I mean, I watched ECW. I was an ECW fan, being about an hour and a half outside of Philadelphia. I was between Philadelphia and Baltimore, so it was definitely available, if you will, to watch.
Yeah.
And he did the BWO, but then he comes here and he took his body to another level. And I always thought he had some charisma. Kind of wish he was involved in some angles for you guys and did some things here. But I like Stevie Richards.
Yeah. He was an honest talent. You got what you see is what you got.
Yeah.
And he wasn't fake and phony, and he was a lot of himself was in his character.
So as we continue watching this one, I want to get back to the questions again, because I like trying to get all of them in that we can. We had a question come in from Hassan Washington when we posted that this episode would be one to watch. And he said, although the invasion angle had been gone a year, was there ever a thought to do it again and do it right now that Bischoff was here and some of your top WCW talent was either there or on their way in?
Nothing serious. The ship sailed, and we blew it on the first go around.
Yeah.
We didn't have access to all those guys. Pardon me. And that, when you don't have the stars, it's like making a John Wayne movie with a remake. You ain't got John Wayne. There's loses a little something there.
You're right. I mean, the timing just never seemed to sync up the way that it would have needed to for it
I wish
to
it
be a
would have.
success. Yeah.
I wish it would have. The transition there when we bought WCW and tried to interface the guys together, things of that nature. I feel bad about that, and I got to take some of the responsibility. We didn't do a good job of the transition. There's Dreamer going for the cover, but to no avail, at least on my vision of this thing. I think Dreamer's bleeding more than he was a while ago.
Can you believe all the blood on Raw? I haven't seen that in a long time.
No.
That's what I first thought about. Man, I forgot these days.
See, I didn't like. I don't know where. Again, Richards catches Dreamer with a super kick as Dreamer's leaping off the rope, kind of a Shawn Michaels thing, and then Tommy kicked out. I don't. Another guy's finish should never be a spot.
JR, let me know when you get to the pin, because
just saw it.
What a brutal cane shot to the head of Richards, and Tommy Dreamer would pick up the victory. Here it is, coming off the second rope. There's the super kick you just mentioned, and again the kick out, right? And long time we saw Michaels win so many championships with that.
Yeah.
But that shot with the cane, it busted it completely, and my goodness, what a brutal match.
Yeah, I just don't. They could have come up with something else, in my view, rather than the super kick. Which, so what do you say? Stevie's not very good at it, because it looked just like Shawn Michaels' super kick to me.
Yeah,
but he couldn't beat him with it.
You have
little things.
Yeah,
so.
we're backstage now, and you have a line in this interview, JR, that you comment that absolutely killed me. Here, we're going to play a little bit of this.
When Shawn Michaels came back, he put one right there, dog. right on my grill. NWO, they just stood there, celebrated. Booyah, 1 month later, NWO, dead and buried. Alpha style, baby. You know what I feel? I feel like celebrating. You feel like celebrating with me, dog?
Well, you know, normally I would.
You damn skippy hippie. You know what? Won't you give me one of them Coach-a-roonies?
Oh, no. Well, Booker, you know, I don't think this is the time or the. Yeah, make it.
It's like that, huh, dog? Oh, The Rock is the only one who can mess with announcers around here, right? News flash! The Rock is on another program. So let's make with the spinning jack.
Oh, I gotta see this, JR. Let's Coach. Look at this. Oh, no.
Coach getting into it. Coach has found his groove, King. Oh, no. No, it looks like me falling off the porch.
You said looks like me falling off the porch. Oh, that got me. So funny. Oh my goodness! And
all
now,
live. Just so, you know, at least I didn't say the wrong brand.
That's all right. Listen, here we go. Here's one more interruption here.
That's what I wondered.
Listen up, man. The fact of the matter is this: Big Show, I'm about to come out here and pull a Allen Iverson on your poke ass and show you why you don't put your hands on the five-time WCW champion. Now, can you dig that?
Oh my gosh!
Biggest Booker T. So good to see you again, my friend.
There it is. His appearance. Hell freezes over. Bischoff walks into the screen during the promo. And is this just done to keep people hooked through the commercial break? Because we haven't even seen him yet. The announcement hasn't been made.
Yeah, that was probably the intent, you know, because we tease. At some point, you got to give them a little bit more than just a tease. And I think that's what that was. So, because, you know, the question I asked going to break, is that the new general manager?
Yes.
Because I didn't know. I mean, in character.
Joe Bayar, he had written a fan question, and he said, do you think showing Eric backstage beforehand ruined the initial reaction? No,
it didn't ruin it. It doesn't. In Joe's booking mind, it may have ruined it, and which is cool. That's his prerogative.
Yeah. And he also asked, do you remember anything about the arena atmosphere during the commercial between that clip and then Vince actually introducing him?
No, buzzing. There was a buzz in there. People were talking amongst themselves, as we say.
Here we go. Let's play a little bit of this real quick, okay, JR? This is the big intro.
This is good.
Yeah.
Manager of Raw, his name is Eric Bischoff.
I cannot believe this.
I'm absolutely in shock.
It's him.
I can't even begin to tell our viewers, our new viewers, what this is going to be.
Look at this. Look. JR, I used to sit in the same broadcast booth every Monday night with Vince when he would wish death upon Eric Bischoff. And now they're hugging each other. Look at this.
They're probably picking each other's pockets. Tonight, there's our new boss. I got 25 years in the business, and it comes down to where Eric Bischoff is my new boss.
I've always liked
My God, am I a lucky fat Oklahoma?
I love you.
Well, you know, as long as he's fair and firm.
So we'll pick this up once he gets into the ring. But your line, they're probably picking each other's pockets. Another great one-liner. Love it.
Well, we had good writers.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
You just throw it out there and hopefully it sticks.
Oh.
That one seemed to work okay.
It was good stuff. I mean,
Bischoff,
listen, that's the reaction we wanted to hear. That we want to hear from you during this.
Eric was able to pull off a disingenuous prick. as good as anybody has anybody has ever done in pro wrestling.
Oh.
And the thing about it is, it was so, it's so simple that it, people got it. They knew he was working them, so to speak.
So here goes. I'm going to share a little bit of the backstory here, right from the Observer. Meltzer would say, Bischoff appeared on Raw after he and McMahon had struck a deal about 10 days earlier. The two sides had talked last summer during the original Invasion angle. At that time, WWE only wanted Bischoff for a 1-month program in July, just for a singles match with McMahon at the Invasion pay-per-view, which, by the way, McMahon would win. No big surprise there. Bischoff turned down the deal since it wasn't good enough to build his character, but just an ego-driven blow-off, and also because Bischoff wasn't in good enough shape to do a match that quickly. There had been informal talks, and Bischoff was among the many candidates brought up when McMahon told those close to him about his idea of feuding general managers. According to friends of Bischoff, while they had a deal, Bischoff himself didn't get the call to appear on the show until the weekend, since McMahon wanted it to be a secret, and virtually nobody was aware of the presence of Bischoff until shortly before he appeared for his interview.
Right.
Bischoff appeared shocked. It shocked not only viewers, but all but a few WWE wrestlers and employees when his face showed up walking on the screen during a Booker T interview with Jonathan Coachman, minutes before his interview where McMahon introduced him and the two hugged on the ramp. Just incredible. It said it's been discussed and speculated that the hug could have cost the company millions and millions of dollars, and that a feud between Eric and Vince could have drawn a ton of money. What say you, JR? Was there money flushed down the toilet with debuting Eric this way?
I believe, Paul, it was a one-off opportunity. I don't want to see a series of matches, and all due respect to Vince and Eric. I didn't need to see a series of matches between two untrained pro wrestlers. They weren't even in the pro wrestler category. And that's just saying that respectfully. They were administrators. They were creators of content. But a one-off built correctly would have been would have added to a significant pay-per-view, no doubt about that. But to see it more than once, we're getting into dangerous waters, I think.
Yeah, no, this is, I'm going to play a little bit of this as he's kind of going on about his accolades. So let's listen to a little bit of this historical kind of context here on Raw.
I was successful because I was innovative. In fact, I was cutting edge. Remember back when Raw was taped every other week and Nitro was live? And I decided to go on the air 2 minutes before Raw, and I gave away everything that happened on Raw so you people didn't have to watch it. Ooh. Damn.
Well, that was innovative, I suppose.
That was ruthless. That was a little aggressive, but it worked. And how about Alundra Blaze? You remember her? This is women's world champion. I signed her away, and I said, hey, Alundra, bring your belt to Nitro. She didn't really want to, but I made her because she worked for me. And I had her go out on national television and throw it in the trash.
That's innovative.
So listen, JR, this is crazy. He's literally going step by step through everything that he did as far as with WCW, and he talks about 83 weeks. The Observer, and I have a question here for you at the end of this. The Observer would write again that according to those in the company, the heat backstage was huge, particularly after this interview, which featured nearly everything possible that is wrong with current wrestling. While fans appeared bored during the interview live, wrestlers were anything but, as Bischoff talked about wanting to put WWF out of business. So now you have a locker room filled with either wrestlers who had heat with him from the WCW days or those who've never worked with him because he had heat, trying to put WWF guys out of business. And if successful, would have cost them money in their livelihoods. You're running talent relations. How much talent were coming to you talking about issues with Eric?
Oh, there were a few. It wasn't an overwhelming mutiny or anything like that, but there's some that had issues. Their basic deal was, did you know? Of course I knew. What do you think? I just passed through here? that executive VP office is just for show? Of course I knew. We had to get him signed, and I will say that Vince took the lead in all that. Vince at the time had made a decision. He knew what he wanted to do with Eric. He knew what he perceived Eric's value to be, and I think who else? There was somebody else that was pissed off about that. Maybe Arn Anderson. I can't remember, but a lot of guys are complaining that can't believe. Of course, they didn't go to Vince and say anything.
No,
they came to my fat ass.
The buffer.
That happened a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't believe, JR, you guys. It's always you guys.
Yeah.
Why don't you say what you mean? Why don't you say that you don't believe in Vince's decision to do this?
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it strongly enough, why don't you go talk to him? Because I promise you, if you confront the old man about this hire, you're going to shorten your tenure. If you want to go communicate about it or come up with some ideas that might make it work better, more power to you. But he's not going to change a hire of this significance for somebody that he believes can be easily hated. I said, you already don't like him because something happened X number of years ago. And I said, the audience doesn't have that same perception that you have. They haven't walked in your shoes, so they can't relate to your angst. But, of course, nobody's going to go confront the old man. They're not. I mean,
it's because he made the decision. So are you ready to step up and challenge him? And if you challenge him, are you ready for the response? Because it's coming.
Vince was the coach, the head coach, and the offensive coordinator. And so he told you to run a play.
Right.
And he didn't suggest that you audibilize in the huddle and change it. That wouldn't be healthy. Look, I'll tell you this. Now, this is my perspective, and I might be wrong. I think this thing blew over real quick. I think they understood finally Eric's role. I said, look, he's like Heyman in real life. He's easy to dislike. He's really good at being hated and being a villain, so let it roll. Let's see if it maybe makes us some money.
Yes.
Maybe the ratings get increased or whatever. So.
And Vince is just coming off, you got the Attitude Era. Well, he's prominently on the shows all the time. And I'm sure he's looking for a way to step back, but he needs a heat magnet from a leadership perspective. And it seems like it makes total sense from that, from that standpoint.
The thing about this interview, number one, thank God it's finally over.
It was a long one.
Eric's a good talker, but, we didn't need to hear the Gettysburg Address in length.
So
that would be the only critique I would have. I thought he did a nice job of getting it done, and his facial expressions were good, and his body English was spot on. And then they get the shot backstage of people doing their wrestling hand gestures, these deals.
And I love it, JR. And if you don't have the video, go to adfreeshows.com. It's just as entertaining, if not more, than the audio. But you know what I enjoyed about it was they just let him say whatever. It felt like he was just given free creative choice to say whatever he wanted because he did it his way.
Yeah, but he had a roadmap. He had direction, and I'm not sure who the writers were, but somebody was. I'm not saying they were telling Eric word for word what to say at all. I'm just saying they knew what was in Vince's head and the direction that Vince wanted to travel. And that's not a bad thing. So anyway, I'm back on the air here with JBL and Taker.
JBL. He's Bischoff's over here sucking up to Undertaker. I'm here for you, whatever you need. Taker's looking at him like, who the hell are you, pal? And JBL looks like he literally just wants to punch him in the face. Like, that's a shoot. But now, real quick to cap that off before we get into this next match, because I'm excited. I love Trish Stratus. She's coming down the aisle. The Bischoff segment gets a 4.35 rating, adding 1.1 million viewers from the previous segment. 1.1 million. But right away after he's done, 500,000 of those tune out. So the build-up was great, but people turning off the show, is that a sign, do you think, they were disappointed, or is it just they just wanted to see what was going to happen?
Well, I think they were curious.
Yeah.
They got their answer. And again, the interview's a little bit long. Short attention span. You don't have a short attention span when Trish Stratus comes to the ring.
Woo! You ain't kidding, pal. One of my top my bucket list. I want to meet her one day. Love Trish Stratus.
She's a very much a talented woman.
All the way around. Wrestling, talk, looks. She's got the total package. She can do it all.
I remember meeting with her in my office in Stanford when I signed her. It's funny, she obviously kept her little document, kept the pen that she signed. She used to sign it, and it was really a heartwarming because this is a big dream of hers. Notwithstanding the fact that she was hot as hell,
and
a field hockey player, good athlete. She worked very diligently to get good, and of course,
her work ethic.
Women like Molly Holly helped the situation because Molly could work about twice as good as Trish at that time.
Yeah.
That may be an overstatement, but Molly was
good.
She was the rudder in the water that helped a lot of these women. The green ones, the 10s that Vince wanted me to hire. Trish was a 10 or 11, but she had a great work ethic and really wanted to get better, worked hard at doing it. I mean, she could even, like we just saw the lockup here, the lockup, collar and elbow tie-up with these two women was spot on. Fundamentally sound as hell.
And you said it, a few things here. First of all, her work ethic, that's what she's kind of known for because she came in very green, but by the time her run was over, I mean, she just wrestled Charlotte a few years ago on SummerSlam. She is a superstar when it comes to women's wrestlers and what she did to help evolve women's wrestling. But you talk about Molly Holly here.
Love
WWE Hall of Famer, finally getting in, well-deserved.
Yeah, I love her. She was such a valuable addition to the women's locker room and that women's division. It's hard to equate how great she was and how much she helped everybody. But that's her. Molly has a Nora, her real name.
Yeah.
I got a real name up there.
But it's the right one, so that's good.
It's the right one for change. She just was a sweetheart to be around. She was willing to be patient and help these greener ladies pull off a representative match and to give them time to catch up and get to where they need to be. So, but Trish is very athletic as well, as you can see right there. She just, and see, she wasn't a great puncher, so she used forearms a lot.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake wrestlers can make is doing things that they don't execute well. And quite frankly, sometimes that's punching. It just doesn't look good.
This must be before the time of when they would change out the ring mat between matches. You're still seeing some blood left from that Dreamer match there. I just noticed as I'm watching here. Now I'm used to going to live events and see the mat changed out almost between every segment.
Yeah, it's a different life, man.
Yeah,
it's a different world we live in.
It's just it continues to see the evolvement of where we are with wrestling. Referee here is that Jack Doan?
Jack Doan.
Yes.
Who I fondly called Hatchet Head.
Hatchet Head. What's the background on that one?
I don't know. He looked like a giant in there with these women. He's like 5'9".
Oh.
Under 6 feet.
Molly there with the feet on the ropes to get the pin. Little chicanery, and the title is handed to Molly Holly, the women's champion. That match went about 3 minutes. It's hard to come back from a segment like the one we just had with Eric Bischoff. Do you feel like this was kind of a booking down type segment?
Kind of. It's a what Vince would call a let me up segment. It's hard to follow something as we are trying to do here and Molly cheats. She's the heel. She's the champ, and she cheats to win, but she allowed Trish to have plenty of shine before they took it to the house.
Not all of it's been good, but let's do something. Let's leave it in the past where it belongs. WWE, man, this is a whole new start for both of us. Think about it. Talk about think about it. Man, I bet you were surprised as hell when you found out that I was going to be the new general manager for Raw, huh?
Surprised isn't the word I was thinking of. But if you don't mind, I got a big match coming up.
Wow. So I had to go right to that, JR. Sorry. That was Flair and Bischoff coming face to face. And if you look at, there's no hiding Flair's facial in that segment. This is just uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was based in reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that was real heat there. But man, they got it right out of they kicked it off and made sure those two were together right out the gate.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of star power. And Flair had in his mind legitimate issues. And so all we're going to try to do is capitalize on the realism and the reality based elements of that rivalry. You know, Bischoff did a lot of good things for us. I had a match with him, which was horrible. I felt bad for him on that deal. I didn't do his gimmick or his character any favors, but he did break a concrete block over my head, so that was always fun.
That's entertaining side of it.
I remember Arn Anderson made my blade. It's just I got into a world that I was not accustomed to traveling in or residing in, and I don't know. I can't remember where that was. I wanted to say Columbus, Ohio, but I might be wrong. So Eric was, but he was good to work with. I mean, he did this karate stuff. And, you know, what the hell? I got those skills. None.
Some Oklahoma tussling maybe back in the day.
Yeah.
Were you ever in a fight ever growing up, JR? Anybody challenge you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hung in there, right? You gave him the old.
Well, I tried. You know, I didn't run from fights.
The old knuckle
confrontations.
Sandwich.
If my dad would have found out about that, he would have really whipped my ass.
Whip your ass. Take you to the woodshed.
Yes, sir.
I love it. Well, I tell you what, though, man, you know, as a fan, and then again, this is the fan perspective. I love hearing you on commentary, but that was the type of stuff that was like, wow, this is keeping us on our toes. JR's going to wrestle here. Can't wait to see how that's going to work out.
Yeah. And the sad part about that, Paul, is that it got good ratings. The goddamn minute by minutes kill me. So I'm thinking I'll go on there and I'll be like a cow on ice and it'll be horrible. And largely it was from a mechanical standpoint. But man, the minute by minute's always upticked. So if as far as Vince is concerned and the writers and so forth, they found something that worked. People will stay tuned to see JR get his ass whipped.
Yeah. That's right. Well, JR, to keep everybody up with where we're at, it is Booker T and the Big Show here in a no DQ match. Actually, this goes to a DQ, excuse me. This is the build-up to their big pay-per-view match. While we're into this match here, a few things of note. They did share with us on this Raw that Rey Mysterio Jr. is coming to SmackDown, so that was some big news. And with the shifts in GM, that would ultimately mean that Stephanie would be the new GM for SmackDown. What did you think about that decision?
Great performer. She's like the old man, easy to dislike in her character. And that's an art form. So was it too much McMahon? Was there too many, you know, if you don't like them, then it was too much. If you understand the concepts and the principles of the role, it's a verbally enhanced antagonist role. I thought she did real well in it, quite frankly. I always thought that during the Attitude Era, and I've said this numerous times, that the greatest heel we had during the Attitude Era was the old man.
Yeah.
Because he enhanced Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
And Stone Cold was the man, period. End of story. And then, well, what about Rock? Oh, JR's knocking the Rock. Oh, I got to click. This will be my headline. JR knocks Rock. I thought they were friends.
I love it.
Easy. When does your school start again? I know you're going to the 8th, 9th grade. But she's Stephanie, as a talent, is more akin to her dad than I thought Shane was.
Yep.
Shane and I both are. I've known them since they were kids. So, but she was more of the chip off the old block than was Shane, and that's not knocking Shane, just different personalities. Shane had more of his mom's personality, and Stephanie was more like her dad. So what?
And from a male perspective, she was much easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
Than the dad. So, like, you know, this era, Stephanie, good Lord, I was a fan. I mean, she's right around my age. Let's just, it is what it is. So I was always excited to see Stephanie, and especially the way, you know, she handled herself there during this time frame. And you're right. She was like the female version of Vince.
Without a doubt. And that's a positive.
That's a positive, huge positive. I miss her on TV. I like when she comes back now. I know she's kind of into this more corporate role, and they don't do the GM thing as much, but I would love for them to be able to find a way to have Stephanie get more involved somehow. I really like her as a character. So
yeah,
she's good too. She's good.
Yeah, she does. She does good work, no doubt. And during this time here, she did good work too.
Yeah, absolutely.
She took her role very seriously. And now we got they're playing this steel chair. Big Show and Book.
So real quick here, there's a note that I have about a little bit about TNA, and I kind of have an idea of what your answer is already going to be. But there was talk, a buzz, if you will, that Jeff Jarrett had been in discussion with Bischoff around this time about possibility of TNA finding a TV deal and Bischoff being involved in helping him. Do you think that type of talk pushed for Vince to bring him in, or that was completely off Vince's radar? He didn't care.
Totally irrelevant.
Exactly.
Totally irrelevant. And I'm not saying it's not true about Jeff providing an opportunity for Eric and the TNA, but bottom line is I think that it had little to do with it, Paul. Vince knew what he wanted. He had a role in his mind for Eric to portray. Eric did a really good job of being the antagonist GM. He had big shoes to fill, following basically Vince, because Vince was the most notorious and successful authority figure ever. And so he knew Bischoff had big shoes to fill, but it's certainly something that or did I say Big Show, that Bischoff had big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Well, listen, I kind of expect that, especially when we talked earlier about how even them being relevant or on TV or doing whatever for 4 weeks, that wasn't on the radar. So I can definitely understand that. The Big Show match here, Booker T ends in DQ. Booker T goes to your table. Your announce table has imploded. Imagine that. So there we go. That wraps up this match. I want to transition. They're showing some back stuff, stage stuff here with Brock as he's lifting, I don't know, equipment as he's working out here. There's some huge news here in the Observer, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Specifically around the show. There was a pep talk before this Raw at the Meadowlands given by agent John Laurinaitis, Arn Anderson, Dave Finlay, as well as Triple H. It's no secret that even though the Raw team is ahead in attendance, that management believes the SmackDown crew overall is doing a better job. Laurinaitis talked about the work ethic and motivation problems. Triple H gave a speech, and he probably wasn't the one to be giving it. He said too many people think that they deserve more of a push because of tenure in the company, and said too many people are sitting back waiting for someone else to give them a push. He said you make your break and force the push. Then he really said something stupid. Again, this is all from the Observer, talking about how he got on top when management was trying to hold him down and punish him for the Madison Square Garden curtain call in '96 because he forced his break. He said some guys need to look at themselves for why they aren't being pushed, saying some guys are lazy, playing Nintendo games, cards backstage, instead of watching matches and learning. He said because you have an occasional good match on TV, or even a few good matches on TV, that many in the locker room don't know how to work and don't even realize it. He goes on to say, well, listen, this is unbelievable, that guys have to work harder at the house shows because crowds are down, so the people who are there will tell their friends they missed a good show. That makes sense. He claimed to have been part of the crew that rebuilt the company by working so hard at house shows, and that it's needed again. The bottom line is that so many people have had their legs cut off and their heads hit on the glass ceiling so many times they've got multiple concussions, etc., etc. I'm not going to continue to read all of this. Whose idea was it to have this type of meeting, and why include Triple H since he's an active part of the roster?
Well, I'm sure. Well, you know, he was seeing Stephanie. He had connections. He was well thought of by a lot of people, quite frankly. It was ill-advised, Paul, obviously. He wasn't trained in that area. That was not his natural thing. I'm sure he said things in that that deal that he would never do again. So I don't know. If he went to Vince and said, "Hey, look, boss, I want to talk to the roster or whatever," then Vince probably blessed it, not knowing exactly what he was going to say.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I don't know that Triple H had done something like that before. I don't think he had, but I could be wrong. But he could, at that point, you could tell, you know, he had aspirations to move up the ladder corporately, to be more involved administratively and all those things. He was willing to take ownership of more than just being a wrestler. So, but you know, there are facets or aspects of his presentation that he probably today, after having experience, would probably rethink. So I don't know. It's hard for an active guy. A lot of the talents are a little bit bitter about that, just because they felt like he was using his connections to take that lead, that role. You know, and I didn't even realize that was I forgot about that whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and Laurinaitis was helpless to get it and change anything. You know, he was new. I can't remember when I left that talent relations role, and I don't even know what year it was, to be honest with you. So it's controversial. It's a little ill-timed, but the theory of doing it, having a talent speak up that, hey, all of us are in the same boat, we're on the same team. We need to gather our resources and our emotions and make this damn thing good. A lot of different ways to put it.
Yeah, it seems like a locker room leader. You'd kind of want him to speak up, but I think it also, to your point, he had a relationship with Stephanie. Certain guys have felt his push happened a certain way because of it. So there's going to be, but you're right. You get to see the signs of his involvement and where he is now, and as a coach and as a leader of people. But
Yep.
as you were answering that, JR, and I'll bring it forward a little bit to current because I'm interested. You and AEW have EVPs. They have leadership roles. Do you see those types of guys getting involved with those types of conversations with other guys in the backstage in that environment?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. They're welcome to, if they want to.
Yeah.
If they want to speak up, or they got something they'd like to discuss, but they would go over it with Tony Khan. And
he's really the voice.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
He's the boss.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the EVPs are up there giving speeches and etc.
No, I'm sure they're EVPs for various reasons.
Yeah.
But I think that there's no doubt in our company who the head honcho is. And if you want to go out and talk to the group now, Jericho's talked to the group.
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah.
I talked to the group early on, time or two. So, you're trying to, the intent is, Paul, to play it forward and share. I believe one of the reasons I was hired in AEW was to share my experiences from an administrator standpoint. I worked for a lot of really smart people, and I learned from all of them something that I could carry forward. So, and if I wanted to talk to the roster, let's say coming up in Charlotte or wherever, I'm sure that it would be approved. But I don't feel like that's my role right now. Now, what I do is I talk to a lot of talents one-on-one. Every TV, somebody's sitting in front of me asking questions, or some of them just need to get a pick-me-up. So I try to be positive and play it forward. And I'm sure that some guys from AEW that listen to our show might disagree with that. But I also am very honest. So sometimes people that have their own little philosophies, you know, they may not think I'm as positive as I believe that I am.
That you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, anytime you get the chance to sit under the learning tree, and you got to be prepared, take the good with the bad. That's feedback. And there's going to be good and constructive, and you can take and do with it what you want. But, man, take advantage of those opportunities. Absolutely. You hear that in all areas of businesses, not just wrestling. That's life. So
I agree. We can learn something from everybody that we encounter.
Boom.
If we're open-minded enough. And I try to, especially at my stage of life, look, like I said earlier in the show, I've got more years in than I have left. That's obvious. That's not breaking news. No, it's not breaking news. I'm 69 years old. My contract will still be in force when I'm 70 in January. How much more do I want? How much do I want to maintain weekly travel at this stage of my life?
Right.
Do I want to do this more and more involved in the ad-free network and working with Conrad, you guys, and not be traveling all over the country? Right now, that's not an issue, but I know at some point in time, it will become a point of discussion. So, for me to say, well, I'll be happy to I'll go to England, or I'll go here or there. And right now I'm all for that kind of thing. But at some point in time, I got to reevaluate, how much barbecue can an Okie eat?
Makes a ton of sense, JR. Lots of good information there. Thank you for sharing. I know I went off the rabbit trail a little bit there with that, but I'm just curious, as fans, as listeners, we love to have a little bit more insight on the inside workings, if you will, the communication. So that makes sense. Bringing us back to the show here, I'm at an hour 16:51. Eric Bischoff is backstage. There was a big tribute that was done here. Jimmy Miranda had passed away the week prior from a long illness. We really don't talk about Jimmy as much. He was a big deal in the merchandise department.
Right.
Can you tell us what Jimmy meant to you?
Nice guy. He was very friendly, company guy. Jimmy lived an alternate lifestyle, and I think some people reacted in that generation to it better than others. But bottom line was, he was so well liked, because he was always there for everybody, merch, things of that nature. As you mentioned, that was his bailiwick. But I always thought he was a nice guy, and it was sad that he got sick, and I'm not sure exactly what the diagnosis was, but I got a good feeling what it might have been. So, but he's a good, valuable member of the team.
Yeah.
Guys liked him, and he was funny.
40 years old. Just
how old?
40. He born in 62.
Wow.
This is 2002 here, so. But, very sad situation. I've heard Mike Chioda talk about him a little bit as well before in the past, and said, nothing but kind words about him as well.
Yeah.
So
we're still living in an era that needs to be put way behind all of us about sexuality and gender issues and things of that nature. We're all human, and the good Lord put us all here for something. And someone's sexual, preferences,
yes,
should be of nobody's business. I don't care. That's just me talking. Now, I will tell you that in my younger days, as a naive, ignorant Oklahoma redneck, I might not have said the same things, but only because I thought it was the right thing to say. But nonetheless, I fully believe that everybody should be able to live their life. And Jimmy lived his life well, and he always had a smile on his face, unlike our friend here, Happy Heyman.
Yeah, we're into the main event here. We were talking through some things there, and we had Bradshaw and Chris Nowitzki, the only active wrestler that graduated from Harvard, by the way. They brawled all over for the hardcore title, and it ended up backstage where Johnny Stamboli interfered and beat up Bradshaw, won the title. And then we moved on to the Big Show and Bischoff. They were together talking backstage. Show was saying how happy he was now that Bischoff was here, especially since no one from the NWO was left. And, you know, how can we work together? And I hope you have my back and all that good stuff. As that interview would wrap up, Bradshaw would see Stamboli attack him, regain the hardcore title. So the hardcore title's moving around a few times here on the show. I thought it was fun to see Big Show and Eric do a little interaction. Eric is making it known, by the way, on the show that his #1 conquest or signing is Triple H. That's who he's targeting and wants to sign. But then we move into the finale here. It's the big tag team main event. I'm at about an hour 20 and 45 seconds, 47, 48. And it's Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. And they're going to take on Ric Flair and Rob Van Dam in the main event. They're building to vengeance. It would be the following week. You're going to see Lesnar's going to face off Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental title. And Taker, he'd end up losing this title to The Rock in a match with The Rock and Kurt Angle. So here we go. It's main event time.
Yeah, this is a all-star game here.
Yeah, loaded.
Great, yeah, some great talents. It's hard to screw that up. Yeah, Taker's, it's just amazing how timeless he was. He still is to me. I'm a Undertaker fanatic, to say the least. But you look at this match here. You got the Nates coming out here in all his splendor and glory.
And then here comes RVD. And, man, RVD was a player. He obviously champion here, the Intercontinental champion around his waist, but he had a unique style, but man, so entertaining, so innovative. Always a big fan of RVD. What did you think about RVD working with him?
I loved it. You had to get to know Rob. He was his own man. He was never an ass kisser. He was always up front with you. And he became more outspoken as time went on when he got more comfortable there in WWE, away from EC So he was a great addition to our roster. He was a hell of a baby face or good heel, either way you want to look at it. Whatever role he had, he did it well. So I always had plenty of time for Rob Van Dam. He's a good dude, and he was so innovative, you know. He's so innovative. I just thought he was terrific. So this should be you got two of the all-time greats, the Nates and Undertaker, starting it out in this tag team match.
And you want to talk about different styles. I think of Ric Flair and all those classic 80s and 90s matches and working 45, 60 minutes, and his style, tag teaming with kind of the guy that brings it forward in RVD with the innovative offense. I think that's a fun mix.
Yeah, me too. Good booking here. A lot of diverse personalities.
Yes.
Gave it a little bit of variety, and the legacies of all these guys. You know, Flair's in the Hall of Fame in WWE a couple of times, I think. Taker will be in it whenever he wants to go, when he feels like putting a suit on. And traveling. He's such a superhuman being. Van Dam, you know, you could tell the guys had gained respect for Rob beyond his ECW business. A lot of the boys weren't crazy about ECW because the ECW guys were incessant about talking about how great the brand was, which I respect, especially considering that a lot of them weren't getting paid, but they're still bragging on their brand. They're still supporting their team. So Robbie got a lot of respect because of his uniqueness. He didn't hurt people. Those leg kicks he just displayed on Taker there a second ago was money. And so it's always interesting, too, that Undertaker sets the heat as they're working on Taker's leg, and they're saving Lesnar for a hot tag.
Good observation there. When Taker comes in to hey, I'll let them kick my butt a little bit. That tells you what he thinks of Brock Lesnar.
Right.
A very young Brock Lesnar at this point.
Yeah, man. He was the prototype. That was one of our greatest signings in my view. There's a low blow. The referee didn't see it. He gets Taker back down. So when Taker's off that vertical base, it allows the other guys to do things with him that heretofore would not have happened. So that's smart wrestling strategy. And then here you got the dead man selling.
That's right.
Which shows you that no one is above selling.
Boom. I was hoping you would say that.
Lost art, registering, selling, different levels, all good.
I love to see how you mentioned it, as he would sit there and he just took a kick to the back of the head from Van Dam. It's not pop right back up. It's, right. Wow, let me collect my thoughts and try to stand up here for a minute. That's huge. It's
right.
lost.
And then he makes himself half-ass whole there, makes the tag to Lesnar.
And here comes the beast.
Yeah.
The machine. He is just... he's so impressive.
Yeah, he's a once-in-a-lifetime player. It's Brock Lesnar. You know, I've had many, many long conversations with him in our relationship. Some really, really good, and some really, really not so good. The boys would take advantage of people like Brock that was somewhat naive and inexperienced. And by that, I'll give you one example. They lied about their payoffs. So he couldn't understand why they were getting more money than him in a certain situation when they actually were not. But I couldn't go to Brock and say, I need to confirm what so-and-so made so you'll know that they're lying. But boy, he's special.
Yeah, and, you know, haven't seen him in a little while in wrestling. I'm sure that'll change at some point as now – crowds and money.
You never know with him. You really never know with him, Paul. He could be done, or he could all of a sudden reappear to work on top of a card at a big pay-per-view or something. And you'd think it'd have to be like a WrestleMania level something, that type deal, or SummerSlam, something big.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to be on the cast of Monday Night Raw anytime soon.
Right. He's not showing up for any kind of wrestling superstars taping. I got you.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
As Monsoon would say. Highly unlikely.
But that's where he's at, and he's whether some people say he's earned it or not, he is that big of a star.
Well, how do people say whether he's earned it or not?
You just have those naysayers that were like he came back in part-time and this and that. I hear you. I know what you're saying and what you're going to say, but
he worked his ass off. He stayed in great shape. He delivered the goods every time he got in the ring, and he saved his cash. He had good representation that always negotiated well for him, and he made a lot of money. I can promise you. I know how much money he made, at least during my run there, and it was a lot. He was one of the highest paid guys we had. So I'm a big Brock, not even just because I signed him and helped get him jump started. I'm a big Brock Lesnar proponent. Came from that dairy farm in South Dakota. We used to have fun talking about that. I grew up on a farm as well. We had some things in common that were not pro wrestling oriented. So I have a lot of time for Brock Lesnar. All these guys right here. These four men in this tag team match right here would transition to any era of pro wrestling, Paul. Any era. And they're just timeless, and all for different reasons.
Yeah. To finish the kind of cap off the Brock talk, he's one of the very few that can pick and choose what he wants to do. He's positioned himself that way and made enough money and made the right decisions that now he can decide what works for him.
Absolutely. And he's earned it. I mean, he's gotten himself into a position, whether it was all his doing or it's never all any one person's doing, by the way. But he's done such a terrific job of managing his life. You know, he's You don't hear controversy from him. He doesn't make an ass of himself. He's not looking for minuscule paydays just to get another payday.
That's right. But
that's not to say that under the right financial arrangement that he wouldn't come back and do something. But he's not so motivated to do it. He's made I don't know if he needs any more money.
Right.
I know that may be oxymoronic to even say that.
And you know what? As I watch him here, he's in the ring with Flair. Flair's just keeping up with him at this age, doing well, selling. He's still a very good performer at this stage of his career.
Remember, the heels are calling the match. Flair's helping guide the ship with Brock. And then make one great big see. The talents couldn't get to him, but the ring post can.
There you go.
So you select those situations.
JR, as we continue to watch this match, just one or two more questions here that came in. I'd like to get to those, as I mentioned. Ben Ledbetter said, did anyone, and again, this is a lot of Eric, because that's what we've kind of talked this episode to be about, the big introduction. Did anyone advise Vince against bringing Eric to the company, to your knowledge, JR?
Well, probably not too. So I'm sure some did. I don't know who it is or why, or I'm sure some did, because Eric was controversial when he came to us on this night here in 2002. But I'm sure some were, because they still had old feelings. Their feathers have been ruffled, and but I don't know of anybody that made a loud protest, because the stupidest thing that some of these cats could have done is to make demands. I can't work with this guy. Oh, then okay, let's discuss your exit date, because you're not going to come in here and tell us what plays you're going to run, what position you're going to play, or how you're going to fit into the team. McMahon does that.
Yeah.
If you can't adhere to that, then you have a hard time working here. So I'm sure some did, Paul. I'm sure some. Look, a lot of them did with me. Again, because JR is an easy target. They would say things to me that they would never say to Vince, which is pretty wise, actually. So, I'm sure some did with the old man, but it's the same old rule I give them all the time. Communicate, don't confront. Confronting the old man is not real good for job security. There's the F5.
F5 to Flair.
See, Brock respected RVD's super kick and some of his offense. Takes a great bump on the super kick. Lesnar sells the 5-star frog splash. But wait, there's more. Last ride, and I suggest it is over.
I think you're right. All your years have taught you anything. That was it, buddy.
Yeah, you don't disrespect the Stars finish.
So real quick, Taker pins RVD instead of Flair, which is interesting because Flair isn't even on the next pay-per-view. Why do you think that was? You think there's something to that?
No, I don't think so. It was probably just so you guys like you and me would ask questions.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the first thing that comes to your mind. Well, we're going to put Taker over.
Right.
He needs to, and then right here is
boom. Lesnar comes in, clubs Taker in the back of the head.
These guys love to work stiff and snug. Those two forearm shots that Lesnar just gave Taker were real. They were snug, and a lot of the talents would not rejoice in that treatment. Taker liked being physical, and he wanted Lesnar to look good, because anybody in the company that had any damn brains would tell you that Lesnar is nothing but money. He's an ATM. You want part of that money, then help him get better at working.
The pin code is Brock. There you go.
Right.
Listen, so here.
Notice this before his tattoo as well.
Oh yeah, it didn't have the big
knife,
the big
thing.
sword. Yeah.
We had a nice little discussion about that because we'd just done, not video games. We'd just done action figures. I swear someday I'm going to have an action figure in AEW.
I hope so.
I don't know when it's going to be. Hope I'm still alive. But that was the deal. Bischoff's on the phone.
Maybe that'll be the soundbite on Twitter this week. Get JR an action figure.
Yeah.
Get that trending.
Let's get that movement started.
There you go. So we got Bischoff on the phone. He's trying to call Triple H. I think he even tries to call Rock at one point and leave him a voicemail that he wants the Rock too. This is just all continuing to set up the narrative of him building his new Raw. What did you think about this episode?
Pretty good. It was pretty good. It was there were some good matches, and the stuff that was, I don't want to say fill, but the let me up matches were solid. You know, the Color and the Dreamer match added to it, gave that match a little bit more believability and cachet. Even though Trish got beat, that was nice to see her and Molly, two Hall of Famers, in the ring. I love that. So we go off the air with Bischoff smiling like a Cheshire cat, which I've never seen in my life, a Cheshire cat, but Bischoff was smiling like we perceived one to be. And I thought it was a solid show. I really did. It was one that was greatly talked about.
It was.
You know, the newsletter guys and all that were, they were all jacked up about this thing because of Bischoff and the fact that we had kept it under wraps. So it wasn't a widespread story leading into the show in the Continental Airlines. So pretty good stuff. I enjoyed the show, quite frankly.
I had a lot of fun watching it with you, Jim, and getting your thoughts and opinions and stories of what was going on there in your minds and how things were happening. Just to kind of wrap up where we were here, so you would have Lesnar was the undisputed title holder. He would lose it to Rock at Vengeance, and as we all know, the big matchup at SummerSlam that year would be Rock and Brock, where Rock would, at the time, Brock would become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world, taking that title away. So the push for Brock is on. And that's where we're at in that time period. Eric Bischoff is now your general manager for Raw. So enjoyed that one. JR, before we get out of here, it's July, and we are in the smack dab middle of barbecue season. And rumor has it that you may have some enhancement talent that could take our listeners' summer picnics to the next level.
I think I do.
Talk to us about JR'sBarbecue.com.
JR'sBBQ.com is how to find it. I say this every week in some shape, form, or fashion. It doesn't cost anything to look. We think we make a fine product that were created by my mother and my late wife, Jan. They did the heavy lifting on it. I did a lot of tasting. As you could tell, I taste everything.
Me and you both, buddy.
But I'm enjoying building the brand in their honor.
That's great.
And our products are made with the family recipes. And we're working our tail off to make sure we have good customer service. We're anxiously awaiting any day now. I've been saying this. I'm not going to harp on it too much. The return of the JR's seasoning. I think we're going to have 2 different sizes as well. So, but our number one sellers are JR's original barbecue sauce. We have a hot version with chipotle ketchup. I saw on Tammy Stitch, better known as Sunny for some people, had made a meatloaf using our chipotle ketchup. And she had a picture on Twitter the other day, which I thought was kind of cool. Glad she did. Glad she ordered.
Yeah.
Oh, if she didn't order anything, JR comped her. Oh, that's a headline.
There you
What's
go.
going on with,
I love it.
But probably the unsung hero that a lot of people have grown to love is our jalapeno honey mustard.
Oh, I was getting ready to say main event mustard. My goodness.
It's good, man. And it's good on fish. It's good on anything you could think about you use mustard for.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I got home and I was tired, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I didn't want to cook. So I had gone to Publix and got me some boar's head, all beef bologna. And I made a fried bologna sandwich with a purple onion slice, a beefsteak tomato slice, and the mustard. I was just as happy having that as I would if I'd gone to Morton's at a steak. It was a good sandwich. I was happy with it. And I rediscovered my love for no-fat cottage cheese with pineapple.
Huh.
So I'm trying to eat a little bit smarter. best I can. So, but we're doing well. We have our books there. I do signed books from our website. You know, if you want a birthday present or another anniversary, whatever it may be, I customize and personalize the books. You tell us what you want us to say, and we'll try to get that done. If it's not too vile and profane. So it's good, though. So I'm having fun doing it. You know, I'm going to be back in Oklahoma more coming up, especially during football season. So I'm going to spend more time on the site, more time with our products. But it's fun to do. You know, every time I see a bottle get sold, I think of Mom and Jan and the fact that if they were alive and still here, they'd be tickled to death that our business is decent. And main thing is growing. So I'm thankful for it. Thank all you guys for helping us out and supporting what we're doing. And, you know, for those that have had any shipping issues with the Postal Service, Paul or anybody else knows that we're on it.
Yeah.
If I see a tweet go out, you're unhappy about something, we address it. We don't just table, well, we'll get back to you. Bullshit. That's not how you deal with your customers. So customer service is, I believe it's a lost art. It's a fleeting art. All of us people that are in the business should take more care and nurturing and taking care of.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
So JRSBBQ.com. The store never closes, and we appreciate everybody's business. Just go and take a look.
Yeah.
And maybe try an order. Try a couple of products. As you said, I could tell by your twinkle in your eye, you're digging the Main Event mustard.
That's a home run, and it's the best part about it is it's low carb. And you know, if you're watching calories, but you would never know it from how good it tastes. So this is more than just, oh, I like JR and his commentary, and I think I'll do him a favor and order some sauce. No, you're getting value. You're getting something terrific that you're going to enjoy. I'm telling you.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah, I've always believed that maybe out of old time's sake or sentimentally, somebody would buy something from us because they appreciated my work over the years or whatever it may be. But then when they got it, it's not very good. It's big time. So we're very blessed there in that regard. And again, I appreciate everybody's business. And I love that we get on Twitter. I'm at JRSBBQ. We get some great feedback on Twitter, pictures of what people are cooking on their grill.
Yeah.
I just believe that, for me anyway, grilling or preparing my own food in whatever way I choose with these products is very cathartic. I enjoy it. I got a big outdoor kitchen in Oklahoma, so that's one of the things I always do when I go home is I go to the store and make sure I got some products that'll fit on the grill. So it's good stuff, man. So thanks for bringing it up.
Sure.
I know Conrad's a devotee of it.
Yeah.
Hope he's still. We wish Conrad well on his Speedo shoot on the beach somewhere in Alabama. So,
you know, rumor and innuendo is that he was down with his father-in-law. Has got a new boat. Rick has a boat, and the family's all enjoying their time there. But yeah, he deserves it. But to put a bow on the old barbecue sauce, if you come or if you go for the fandom, I tell you what, you're going to stay for the sauce. Remember that.
I like that.
So good stuff. So listen, don't forget, you can get all your favorite Grilling JR episodes early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. So much content, JR, exclusive interactive events. You have bonus content. You and I were talking. We're going to put something together here soon.
Yeah.
Watching Hogan actually turn into to the NWO leader at that bash at the beach. We'll do that together. And you've also participated in a lot of fun Q&As for us as well over there.
I like those. I like interacting with the fans. I'm never going to outgrow being a wrestling fan. And I identify with those other wrestling fans.
Yeah.
So that's why I know that when I get criticism for a misspeak or whatever, it's from a small minority.
It is.
The vast majority of the people appreciate my work and respect what I've done. And I really, really love that. You know, sometimes you're sitting by yourself and your most important person in your life is no longer with you. It's things like that kind of pick you back up. And so I'm very blessed. My fan base is our fan base is very, very appreciative of the effort. And as long as I'm able, they'll always get the effort. And but am I going to be perfect? Nope, no way in hell. But I'm going to give you effort and passion and realism. And I think that's what fans are missing, and I think that's what they like. So onward and upward we go, Paul. You've done a hell of a job on this show. I appreciate your babysitting me in Conrad's absence.
Hey, this was a hell of an opportunity. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here this week, Jim. I had a lot of fun.
Anytime, my friend.
Watching
anytime.
wrestling with you is a great. So listen, real quick, I wanted to mention this to you just as a point of encouragement. We used to operate in a world where it was you critique in private and praise in public. That is the reverse now. It's critique in public and praise in private. I've come to find that even myself, and that's okay. But just know that's the world we live in. But I can tell you that you still have throngs of fans cheering you on every week, regardless of what little word you say off or on. And really a huge fan, and really, too, what you've done. I knew you when you were Jim Ross, UWF, before JR.
Yep.
You were an excitement that you brought to wrestling that no one has matched since. So respect you big time for your contributions to what you're doing.
Appreciate the kind words, my friend.
There you go. Well, listen, JR, more big episodes are on the way, including the WWF Invasion pay-per-view from July of 2001 and Triple H in 95 and 96 as the Cerebral Assassin. He's going to celebrate his 52nd birthday this month, JR. Can you believe that?
Great heel. Great heel. Proud that we signed him. Proud that he was there. I remember signing his first big contract, i.e. 7-figure contract. We agreed to terms sitting on an anvil case in the back of the Evansville, Indiana arena. Come to terms and got all the I's in place, T's dotted, or I's dotted, T's crossed, and never a regret. Never a regret with him. Solid dude, and all the success he's had. I know people are going to say, oh, JR, Jesus Christ. Look, all I'm saying is, when he played in the big games when I was there, when I was booking house shows, I never worried about his matches. He was one of the guys you knew was going to be on time. He's going to give you great effort. He was going to put some thought into what the hell he's doing. And he took ownership. And sometimes him taking ownership pissed off the people because they weren't taking ownership. So I got a lot of time for him in that regard, and I wish those guys nothing but the best. And hope the fans continue to join us every Wednesday night on TNT, 8 o'clock Eastern. And it's good stuff. It's good. We're having a lot of fun, and some great shows coming up with big crowds. It's going to be very cool. So
get in on the fun. AEWTix.com. That's where it's at, man. They're back. They're touring. They're live, and they're coming to a town near you. It's exciting, man. Really excited to see live action again.
Totally agree. Can't wait to get back on the road next week.
There you go. Well, listen, that's going to wrap us up this week. We appreciate you listening. And listen, the guys are going to be back in rare form together again next week for another Grilling JR, the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Thank you so much, everybody.
We're going to try to get Conrad to show us his tan lines.
Oh, boy.
That should at least good for 30 minutes.
So check us out, ad-free shows for that video. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're going to notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.